Hey guys, welcome, it's Matt here. And yes, we have a new tier list for you guys. This particular tier list is going to go by rounds and by cost at the same time. In the first tier list, we're looking at round 1 to 10 and 1 to 2 cost, because I feel this is where this tier list is most helpful. So let's get right into it. Currently, we still have Anti-Mage and Bounty Hunter on the top of my tier list, because Anti-Mage burns mana, Anti-Mage is great at 2 cost, or 2 star, and similar is Bounty Hunter, and we tend to find them quite often. What I want to highlight is the ability of a Clockwork. The Clockwork really excels when he finds and when he fights units that's more 1 vs 1 or 1 vs 2. And Clockwork works with goblins, so it's a high chance of Clockwork to receive the nanobot armor. There's a high chance of us giving Clockwork more armor and a soft shield to make him super tanky. And he tend to be the one unit that 1 vs 2 most of the times. Looking over here, why do we have those units over here? Enchantress can be found, and it's likely we found her to 2 star. At the 2 star Enchantress, she is incredibly strong with her healing. On the other side, those 5 units are here because their particular synergy or their particular ability. Timbersaw is great standalone, but he tends to fit into the goblins very well. Similarly, the Orcs, Beastmaster and Juggernaut fits into Orc Warriors. The 2 demons of highlights is the Chaos Knight and Queen of Pain. One excels in 1 vs 1 combat, the other one excels in AoE damage if you position her correctly. What we're looking at in early rounds is that we're trying to get the 1 cost units to 2 star. We're trying to start prepare ourselves for the 2 cost units to 2 star as well. Maybe we find a few Beastmaster pair, maybe a pair of Chaos Knight, a pair of Queen of Pain. The moment the 2 cost units hit into a pair, that's when it becomes powerful. Let's look further. Why is Draw-Ranger here? It's because of the new recent buff with the Hunters and also the popular use of Draw-Ranger with Abaddon, because Knights has gotten so popular and so strong in the mid-game. Witch Doctor is quite underrated because Witch Doctor's Coconut is 5 bounces at level 1, so that is 50 damage per bounce, that's 1 second down per bounce. If we're looking at versing 4 or 5 units, that's pretty much 1 stun on every unit and 50 damage. Damage is not that great, but the stun can really cancel some spells, and the stun can really do something for us because if it bounces between 2 units, it keeps bouncing. Tusk is ranked a little higher because Tusk is able to have the beast synergy with other beasts, and so easy to have the first tier and second tier of the beast when you have Tusk, Lycan, Enchantress, and just another beast. Luna, Furon, and Slark. Why are those units here? There's a high chance of people running Knights, and Luna is heavily contested with Elves and Knights. On top of that, the Furon, we did this one. Where's the little tree friend? Yes, over here. On top of that, the Furon and the Treant Protector can excel in their power spikes by fusing into 2 star very early in the game. Slark just had a recent buff, and the pure damage for Slark can be relevant when you find him at 2 cost, because in the early stage of the game, when you find the 2 cost Slark into 2 star, he can really excel with 1 vs 1 by constantly disarming the enemy. But there's a downside to the Slark, because he excels in Assassins, he excels in Nagas, which one comes early in the game, one comes later in the game, so it's a hard difference between Slark. So Slark can be a bait if we find him to 2 star, because we have to sell him later or he just becomes less useful for us. Units here are pretty unique. They have their own uses, but in the early rounds, if we tend to go with those units to 2 star, not the Morphling of those 4 units, sometimes it's likely we will not win the rounds like easy. Tiny needs Elemental, Axe needs Warriors, Tinker needs something, Ogre needs Mages, but Mages are weak early game. Morphling is here because Morphling can do burst damage, but he's quite squishy at level 1. I don't expect most of us to be finding 2 cost units to 2 star here, so most of the 2 cost units here are basically pairs or just single standalone by themselves. Of course, if you do find a good 2 cost unit to 2 star, that's great in those rounds. Then lastly, we have those units here. They don't excel in single hand combat, and they don't excel in any lineup except their own lineup. Bat Rider excels in Knights and Trolls only. Crystal Maiden excels in a lot of lineups, but she's not great for the early rounds. Puck have a really bad attack speed, and Shadow Shaman's magic is great, but Shadow Shaman really needs Trolls for better attack speed. Shadow Shaman needs more things, and Shadow Shaman standalone is not that strong. So overall, for the round 1 to 10, what we want is we want to find the top units to 2-star. If you can find the 1-cost units to 2-star, most likely you'll be winning more of those rounds early game. Second, we want to combine the 2-cost units. We want to pair them up. We want to prepare them for 2-star. Things like Enchantress, things like Queen of Pain, things like Enchantress and things like Witch Doctor can stand alone with a 2-star Enchantress or with a 1-star Queen of, with a 1-star Witch Doctor. It's highly likely some of us do find a pair of Chaos Knight, or some of us find a 2-star Chaos Knight. That's when we really see how strong the Chaos Knight is. But I have rated those 2-cost units a little lower because it's unlikely for us to find them into 2 stars in this early stage of the rounds. Now let's go to the next tier list, guys. So let me know if you guys have any questions on this round as well, guys. Let me know so you can text it, or you can send a message. I'll read those messages and I'll answer it as well. Here we have the round 11 to 16 for the cost units 2 to 3 cost. I have made this more specific because I feel that most of us would have found our 2-star 1-cost units, and the more focus will be laying into the mid-game foundation. Here the round 1 to 16 is a special round. We call them economy round, we can call them power up round, we can call them whatever we want to call them, but they're so crucial I actually single them out for us. Over here we have the round 11 to 16 and the cost goes from 2 cost to 4 cost. Yes, we do have more units over here because here is when we prepare to save up, when we prepare to transition into a prettier lineup, and when we prepare some good units, a standalone unit that carry us in those particular rounds. Because saving, lineup, and potential for the mid game is so important in those rounds, we have made a standalone from round 11 to 16. I don't assume we have a 2-star 4-cost unit, a 2-star purple unit that is. I assume we have a standalone, just one of them. I assume most of us will have a 2-star 2-cost unit like Timbersaw, Queen of Pain, and Beastmaster are all 2 stars. And here I have a little assumption. I assume that some of us are lucky enough with Terrorblade, but most of us not lucky enough to find a 2-star Terrorblade, Razor, or Shadowfiend. They are here high on the tier list because of their potential, not because they are 2 stars already. So the assumption is we only have 2 stars with 2-cost units. Rest of units, maybe you have a pair of Lycan, maybe a pair of Razor. They're here for potential. The standalone are the purple units. Looking over here, we have the Timber, Queen of Pain, Beastmaster. I think very quickly we can see I valued AoE units at this particular stage. Right now, most of us will be facing warriors, goblins, maybe you face a few hunters. But if you can AoE the front line down, you can touch on, you can really defeat the squishy backlines. So AoE units really excels here. And those are some of the best AoE units for the 2 cost. Of course, the standalone Lone Druid activates the Druids. Conquer is still great after the nerf because most of us just in 1 bolt. We don't really care about the 2nd bolt because Conquer usually dies with 1 star with 1 bolt. Alchemist is a big highlight over here. The recent change to Alchemist is that he transforms and he also does the chemical spray, the acid spray. So what that means is Alchemist now minus armor, he becomes a little tankier. Although he doesn't have armor, with less armor means Alchemist receives more damage, he can cast faster. So maybe it's a plus side that Alchemist doesn't have armor right now. So Alchemist minus armor. Let's picture how strong Alchemist is. You need 2 undead to minus 4 armor to the enemy. You need just 1 Alchemist to minus 4 armor to the enemy. Also does the damage over time on the ground that is physical. So Alchemist is really strong right now. And I think we'll be seeing a lot of people using Alchemist in the Hunter lineup, in the Knight lineup, in any physical lineup, or you just have Alchemist as a standalone unit that just amplifies the amount of damage you guys do with your other units. Now, if you want the maths on the amplification, Alchemist does 17% additional physical damage for most units that have 5 armor. So minus 4 armor is 17% amplification of physical damage. We know when Doom's good. Necro is great because Necro can go with undead. Necro heals and Necro does great amount of damage as well. Necro over here is the unit I want to highlight because simply having the Necro means there's so much sustainability because Necro have a low CD. being a Warlock, Necro receives twice as much mana as other units. So the Necromancer is really nice over here. The Terrorblade, Chaos Knight are the potential units we still look at, because this is before round 22 or 26. Those single target units can still excel. Chaos Knight is really high because the popularity with Knights. If wasn't the Knights so popular, maybe we have the Chaos Knight 1 tier list down. But right now he's really high because how popular Knights are. The Terrorblade, in comparison, can be quite strong as a standalone, but Terrorblade also enables the demons. So what Terrorblade does is, once he's 2-star, you realize the player you're versing, when he transforms, he basically 3-shots almost every unit. And that means if you start preparing for 2 pair of Terrorblade, the moment you find Terrorblade as a 3-star, even around 16 and onwards, he's incredibly strong. He does fall off after round 26 though, we have to be aware. Because the downside is he's a melee unit, they can't get mana unless he hits something or he takes damage. And sometimes, as a melee unit, you run in and you die too fast. Razor, Shadow Thing, a great AoE nukers, and I don't expect us to be finding them as 2-star, but I expect to start preparing for the mid game for them. So maybe we start saving them up. The moment we find the 2-star, it's great. Razor also works really well with elementals as well. Lycan is an unspoken hero because he's a human, he's a beast, he's a warrior, also he summons wolves that punish other players. So Lycan's great in beast, he can human silence. Lycan also can be one of the 3 warriors you have. Also Lycan now works with mages, which I'll touch upon very soon. Some of the units here are over here because of lack of potential for those particular power rounds. The units over here, Disruptor, we want Disruptor, but he won't be a strong unit as a standalone. The Theorem is great, but most of us only use the Theorem to make the additional change within changes. So does the Train Protector. Juggernaut, Luna is great as well, but they tend to fall off as well because Juggernaut don't do burst damage. He's great in the Orc lineup, but Juggernaut seems a little weaker compared to the other 2-stars. Now he can be up here with the S- tier, but I put him here because I do feel that a 2-star Juggernaut do fall off after round 16. Although it's easy to find him as a 2-star, he's great. He do fall off with the items, but if you find him into 3-star, he's incredibly good again. Luna is very strong as a 2-star. The downside for Luna, which we'll touch on here, is that she charges mana for the enemy. If she doesn't have enough items, if she stays on 2-star, very soon you realize she's actually charging mana for the enemy in the backline. So she didn't go up here, she stayed over here because she has a little downside to it. Venomancer, Windrunner, and Witch Doctor have their own uses. Venomancer is great in a beast lineup if you get him to 2-star. Venomancer with Endermanager items will be able to cast so much faster with his Venomancer wards, and with a new buff to his wards, he actually slows enemy attack speed, and that's incredibly strong, even at level 1. Windrunner is great for hunters, and Windrunner has moved up for me because her ability to enable the 3 hunters that become super strong even at 1-star, because hunters now receive flat damage boost instead of percentage damage. Witch Doctor, Abaddon, and Oni Knight are the new favors in the Troll and Knights lineup, and they are pretty highly rated because of that. Templar Assassin is a great standalone unit, but unfortunately, unless you have a good lineup for her, just having her by herself seems to be a little underwhelming because she tends to jump in and she can't create enough distraction. Sometimes she dies before she casts her reflection, and even if she casts her reflection, sometimes your other units might not be strong enough for her to become truly useful. So she is over here. The units over here are unique. They are more like in a combination. The the Dragon Knight, the Viper is the Dragon's combination, while the Troll goes with the Troll combination. They are not great standalone units. That's what I'm trying to say. They are not a commonly used units in a particular lineup, simply because if you're not running Knights, if you're not running Dragons, you don't need a Dragon Knight. If you're not running Trolls, if you're not running Warriors, you don't need a Troll Warrior. So they don't have the utility to fit in most lineup, while the units up here can almost fit in any lineup. Lastly, we have a few units that's not so much favored by me personally, because I feel although Crystal Maiden is great for a mage lineup or even for a mana generation lineup, she needs to be 2-star to make herself worthwhile to be on the board around 11 to 16. Because this is when you want to be strong with just a few units. You want to save up your economy, you want to not lose too much health, you want to get comfortable. But Crystal Maiden is not one of those value units that allows you to be comfortable. She's one of those safe bets for mages later on that you can be like, hey, I got my 2-star Crystal Maiden. But now I have a 2-star Crystal Maiden. I don't have mages that 2-star to make use of her. Puck is very situational. Only elves and mages, or maybe dragons, use a Puck. Standalone, Puck is very weak. Similarly, Slug and Ricky really do become a little trap for us, because if we pick them here, they're great. But the downside is, in a few turns later, you realize you start to lose with the assassins rapidly. The Mirana is great hunter. I put her here to demonstrate that she herself standalone is not that strong. But if you fit her in an elf lineup, if you fit her in a hunter's lineup, she's great. Elf hunters can be great, and also Mirana can win more if you're winning. What that means is you can punch the enemy player because the arrow takes time. If your board is strong enough, the arrow will arrive on a crucial unit, and before you know it, you're winning more. But if you're losing, you can't expect the Mirana to help us to win. And because those rounds are so important for value units and economy, Mirana is falling off here. Similarly, the Phantom Assassin need to be level 2 to be effective, I feel. Level 1, the critical damage is still underwhelming, and she only activates the elves. Again, we want value units, and that's why we have her lower for those few rounds. This is a little addition for the round 1 to 16. We have Mr. Medusa and Sand King, and we have added them here. So we have the Medusa as a potential. She's great, but right now if you have a Medusa, she eats away your gold. That's 4 gold you could be saving, you could be buying other units. She's great to come, and she's great to be denying other players as well. So that's why I have her over here. Medusa doesn't excel that well in a lineup that is not a hunter, that's not a mage, but she can still be great at 2-star with any mana regeneration items. And the ability to deny her of crucial builds is really good as well. Sand King over here is pretty decent because his ability to stun. Sand King has 10 armor, and Sand King actually activates the beast, which is one of the stronger lineup around round 11 to 16. The downside for Sand King is he can be a bait for assassins to come. And also, although he's great, Sand King is a 3-cost unit that eats up 6 or 9 gold when you have a pair of Sand King, when you have a 2-star Sand King. Over here we have the round 17 to 26 with 2-cost to 4-cost units again. This time we emphasize on the 4-cost unit, we emphasize on the transition into the late game, because for those turn rounds, it's really the difference maker who come 8th, 7th, and who come 5th and 6th. So basically, right now, those 10 rounds are usually what people tend to really differentiate themselves. People really have a solid build. People stay on 60 or 70% as a HP leader, while others, worse the HP leader, tend to fall off rapidly, especially for goblins. Let's have a look. The 2 S-rated units are Conquer and Long Druid for me, even after the nerf, because although they did get a nerf, it's not significant with, say, casting delay of particular function unit, but rather the cooldown and the bear. The bear is still very strong. Conquer enables so many builds, that's why he has the most utility. Conquer is a knight, a human, he can run a mage lineup, he can even run a goblin lineup. His great AoE and disability allows him to counter units that pretends or that hides in a corner. Conquer's bolt can punish them because they're grouped up. And sometimes you just want to punch units early, like mages, trolls, or even knights that's grouped up. If you stun them, they can't do damage, and before you know it, your units will be doing things to them before they can act. The Long Druid over here is a great activator for a lot of the elf druids, and because of that, and on top of that, Long Druid is a purple unit that we can easily find 2-star. We just need 2 Long Druid. We almost see Long Druid in almost every lineup. He's great as a tank, he's great as a damage dealer, he's one see some in the bear that is, and he's also great just as a little bonus on the side. So almost Long Druid can exchange into any lineup. We love him for his versatility, we love him when we play elves as well. The units that's fallen off a little bit are the Beastmaster, the Queen of Pain, and the Timber Saw. Notice how the Queen of Pain fallen down lower compared to and the Timber Saw fallen down lower compared to the Beastmaster, because I value the Ox synergy with Beastmaster and the Disruptor. because Disruptor, if we have kept him previously, it's time to find a 2-star Disruptor, similar with Doom. Alchemist can be 2-star, which would be great, but he's still okay with 1-star. The highlight over here is that I have assumed most of us would have found our 3 cost unit to 2-star. So the Lycan, Razor, and Shadowfang here are 2-star units. Similarly, all the other 3 cost and 2 cost units are 2 stars over here. I think we all see the potential with Lycan, Razor, and Shadowfang in particular lineup, and we know how strong they are, simply because Lycan can summon wolves that punish player with HP, and wolves hits really hard. Razor can be an elemental, mage, or even just a lineup that needs a bit of AoE. I run Razor in my Goblins lineup as well most of the time because I stack Timbersaw, I stack Queen of Pain or Shadowfang. With the Razor, before you know it, everything dies really quickly. And Shadowfang is just so great. As a Warlock, Shadowfang double dips in mana gaining. And if you guys want more things on mana gain, I'll attach a link for the mana gain guide for you guys. How Warlock works is they gain double the mana compared to other units, and Shadowfang itself is a demon. Having the demon power, he does 2 damage, so he double dips on his normal attack and his demon power damage, and both of those gains double mana. That's why you see a 1-star Shadowfang just gaining mana in 3 hits, or 2-star Shadowfang just casting in 3 hits as well, because of the ability to be a Warlock and a demon, and he's the only one. Terrorblade is a demon as well, so he gains mana a little fast with his true damage. And Terrorblade at a 2-star is the power to be recognized. And the unfortunate thing is Terrorblade is not very high for me because he does fall off after 26. We need to keep in mind that the 2-star Terrorblade is great here, but after the round 26 he fall off greatly because it's a melee unit. Crown Pain is still great with burst potential. Deucer is a potential buy now. We're preparing Deucer because there's so many mages running around, and because we know how strong Deucer is with the Tide Hunter that's to come. Also, a 2-star Deucer in Hunter lineup is just incredible. You see she start casting, everyone goes no, and we all get stoned. Even after a nerf, Deucer is still very strong. Another highlight is Crystal Maiden. She has stepped up greatly because she now enables a lot of the units to regenerate mana. She can be just a standalone as a 2-star, or she can work in the mage lineup, she can work in the knight lineup, she can also work in the beast summoning lineup. So she has really stepped up from the bottom to the top. Necromancer, Templar Assassin are the purple units that becomes great in this particular formation because we tend to have assassins, we tend to have elves with Templar, we tend to have undead with Necromancer, and that's why Abaddon is here as well. Over here, around 17 to 26 is when we have a solid number of units, so this is when the amplification and the minus armor increased magic damage really becomes effective. This is when lineups become formed and lineup become mature. That's why Necromancer Abaddon is higher than other units. Looking over here, the Dragon Knight, Keeper of the Light, and Chor are activators for a particular build. Those builds are quite strong, but unfortunately, not many people tend to go those builds all the time. So their versatility and their common use is not that high. But for a specific guild, we know how strong the Dragon Knight, Keeper of the Light, and Chor is. The Juggernaut Only Knight has fallen off because they're melee units. Melee units are really having a hard time over here. You either run into a mage ball, you either run into a hunter ball, or you get focused down even by Chors, because melee units really have a tough time over here. Zenkin is reasonably buffed, but I still don't have him very high because simply knowing he's an assassin. He's a beast. Beast is okay, but right now is when Beast excel. The downside for Zenkin is that if you have a Zenkin, that means you kind of want to go to Assassins, but you know Assassins are not great after round 26 as well. So I don't want us to be baiting to Zenkin Assassins, that's why I haven't put him as highly as he should be. Veno is a great punish. I feel I will prefer Veno than the Zenkin because as a Warlock, Veno gets mana faster. Veno Summon Words has a great debuff against neutral monsters, against enemy single target units as well. Windrunner still stays relevant, while the Witch Doctor stays relevant. The units here, as you can see, they're either melee units or they either have fallen off. And the Viper is not as high because Viper is a single attack damage dealer that needs mana. Unless you run Viper in your Dragon lineup, I think Viper is one of the least used units outside of Dragons. The Luna has fallen down greatly because she recharges mana for the enemy. Now her damage is no longer relevant, and she becomes one of those double-edged blades. Yes, she does some damage, but on the negative side, she actually recharges mana for the enemy Witch Doctor, for the enemy Razor, for the enemy Shadow Fiend, or even a Lone Druid, you name it. She actually recharges mana faster for any enemy in lineup, and that's like the enemy has a double CM always with the Luna, so we need to keep in mind that Lunas do fall off. Sniper is great, and we're seeing strong snipers. The unfortunate thing for Sniper is he doesn't fit in anything but Hunters, and if it's that way, if you don't play Hunters, if you see a Sniper, most of us won't buy the Sniper. And the 4 units over here, they do not excel much in those particular rounds because they are not value units and they're not very strong. And they do activate a certain combo, say Hunters and Elves, Humans and Mages, Elves and Assassins, and Naga Assassins. But standalone, even at 2-star, they're not very great. And the highlight for round 17 to 26 is that we want to protect health. This is the difference between 8th and 7th player, 6th and 5th player, or 4th and 3rd player. I'm not saying we don't want to be top 2, but over here, what we often find is ourselves to be losing too much health too quickly. And it's the units up here that manage to be 2-star, that preserves health, that punishes the player that doesn't find them. Now we have the round 27 and plus, where we're going to the late game scenarios. Here we will be focusing on 4 cost and 5 cost unit because they are the most crucial unit, they are the more game changers for us, they are the more activators and initiators for us. We have right on top of my list, which haven't been changing much, been Tidehunter, Medusa, and Disruptor. I have recently putting up the Medusa. Previously I had the Tidehunter and Disruptor because of the instant cast ability. And currently the Medusa is really highly rated because of the popularity with Hunters and the popularity with Medusa to counter mages with a Tidehunter, with a Slaughter, or even with a Slark if we're desperate. So because so many mages running around, and because so many Hunters running around, Medusa has actually become high on my tier list. Those 3 units are one of the greatest controllers in the game. And we often see a mage lineup with a Disruptor. Mage have mana regeneration, Disruptor can cast so much faster. And once our lineup gets silenced, before you know it, the mages cast everything on us, and it's all over. Similarly for Tidehunter and Medusa. But the key thing is the Naga synergy against mages, and the Disruptor can also counter mages if you have him correctly positioned, well itemed, and if he casts fast onto the mages, it's over for the mages. On the second tier list, what I'm assuming is most of our purple units are 2 stars here, by the way guys, and most of our legendaries are 1 star or 2 star. I understand it's not easy to find legendaries and 2 star, so the assumption is most of the legendaries are 1 star. Knowing that, a 2-star Conquer and a 2-star Doom can be critical. A 2-star Conquer gives us the Bolt, gives us extra frontline, gives us the Human Silence, and gives us the Warrior Armor. The Warrior Armor is the least relevant, while the Human Silence and the AoE stun can be very relevant. The Doom is an anti-legendary, anti-strong unit counter because the Doom has a really good II. You always Doom almost the most variable unit on the enemy lineup. The downside for Doom is that if he doesn't cast early enough, he tends to be casting on units that are already casted, like a Lone Druid, or maybe a Techies, or maybe a Tide that has already ravaged or already casted their spells. Sometimes it casts on the Medusa after the Medusa has started screaming. So what we really want is to have the Doom in the front line with some energy items, or just have him singled out so he can cast faster. That means the Doom needs to be 2-star. The Doom is so great. Enigma, Lich, Techies, and Gyro. Why are they up here and why is the Death Prophet not up here? It's because those 4 units can be relevant at 1-star. They don't need to be 2-star to make themselves work. They just have to get a cast off, and 1 cast is usually enough to change the fight. Unfortunately, Death Prophet at 1-star doesn't gain mana as fast, even though she's a Warlock. And on the second downside is after she casts, she has to stay alive to be relevant. While those 5 legendaries over here, Tide and everything else, once they cast, they can look away, then they can die, and things will still happen. But Death Prophet, I see so often people with Death Prophet and she just dies right after she casts. And in that comparison, a Necromancer being in the same undead, same warlock, a 1-star can be better than a Death Prophet, because Necromancer is instant. So the Enigma is great for PvE. Enigma is great to fight things like dragons, to fight the Year Beast, to fight Roshan, to fight big monsters or even the trolls, because Enigma does percentage based pure damage, and it's 10 seconds. And that adds up to 50% of AoE damage. And yes, Enigmas do stack. If you have 2 1-cost Enigma, a 1-star Enigma, it's actually stronger than 1 2-star Enigma. The Lich is a very special unit. It's often underrated unless Mage are looking for Lich or Hunters are looking for Lich for undead lineup. The Lich is surprisingly strong at level 1 because he has a quite low CD compared to other legendaries. Lich does not gain mana fast. And once Lich casts, he will have full mana because of the bounces, and the bounces are incredibly strong against certain compositions like Knights, against Trolls, and against other compositions like Elves because they don't have much HP pool. Lich at 2-star is incredible. With a lower CD, 9 bounces instead of 6, greater slow, greater damage, and if Lich survives long enough for 9 seconds, he will cast again. Often I see a 2-star Lich casting twice in a fight. Techies and Gyros. One is a critical game changer for goblins. The other one is another dwarf, a dwarf with range. So when will Techies be handy? Techies works with goblins, we all know that. Techie also works with undead, because surprisingly enough, Techie at 1-star does a lot of damage. 700 AoE is no joke. And often with our goblins, people tend to not take Techies. So you actually have a probability boost when you take Techies because other people are taking other legendaries. And Techies at 2-star is incredibly strong if you have the undead buff, even if you don't have undead buff. 1100 physical damage is massive. And that's massive radius, and although he might cast behind him or in front of him, he's still great at 2-star. Even at 1-star, he can do a lot of work when you have minus armor. Gyro, on the other hand, has some of the highest attack speed, highest armor, even at level 1. Gyro has 0.9 attack speed, 15 armor, with 900 health. So Gyro can be sitting in the front line to be casting, or he can sit in the back line with a few items. Even at level 1, Gyro can do massive magical damage. We know those purple units are currently 2-star. The Lone Druid is over here because he can be a 2-star or 3-star Lone Druid because it's so easy to find more Lone Druid. I know it's not that easy when everyone's searching for him, but most of us do find him as 2-star. Some of the lucky ones find him as 3-star. Lone Druid is relevant because of the bear. You get a random RNG, the bear can proc a root, and you can be stunning on, like, it's basically a stun on the neutral monsters like dragons, or you can be finding a push unit like a Doom or a Conk or even a Tide with a root if you position him correctly. What I like about Lone Druid is he can be a tank and a damage dealer, and he can also be a backup against mages. For mages, when they AoE, the Lone Druids tend to receive damage. He summons the bear. The bear is not debuffed by magic, so bear doesn't take additional magic damage. The bear is tanky enough and does enough damage to mop up the rest of the mages after they finish the spells. Necro is great. Necro is undead. Necro is a warlock. Necro works in the troll lineup. Necro works in the knight lineup. Necro allows us to heal. Necro allows us to be sustainable, sometimes against mages. If you have a Necro healing, he can be healing every 6 seconds, and the heal can be quite relevant when units just need a little bit to survive. And when we find a 2-star Necro, you can even consider putting him a little in the front line so he can take more damage and heal faster. He does a great amount of damage as well, surprisingly, because not only does he heal, he also does damage to the enemy. Alchemist is again rated pretty highly by me because his ability to reduce armor. We can again think Alchemist as 2 undead in 1. And also Alchemist saved up another crucial spot for us to maybe have a 2-star Disruptor, for us to have a 1-star Lich, or even a 1-star Enigma, because Alchemist saves the spot the undead usually takes. The downside being an Alchemist is that his minus armor is only activated if he stays alive and casts his transformation. He doesn't have to be alive after he casts Ice Spirit, but he has to be alive to cast the spell. Sometimes if the Alchemist gets human silenced, if he gets stunned, he's not casting, then you no longer have the minus armor. That Prophet was touched previously, the focus over here is that she's great as a 2-star. She's great in lineups that gains mana fast. How does she get mana fast? She can be in a mage lineup, she can be in a troll lineup. Downside for Death Prophet is she really excels at level 2 or 2-star. She's not the best legendary at 1-star, simply because she has to survive for 5 more seconds or 3 or 4 more seconds for her ultimate to become useful in terms of damage dealing. She has to be surviving for her relevance. And lastly, we have some of the new units over here. The Troll Warlord, the Dragon Knight, and the Keeper of the Light again are synergy and combinations that fits in a certain build. They do not fit in other builds. Most of the units are chosen here for their versatility, and those 3 are too isolated. And unfortunately for Templar Assassin, she's great in most lineup, but the downside is most units have enough armor or most units do more things than her in the late game. Now in comparison, a 2-star Templar versus a 2-star Disruptor. We fear the Disruptor, we get annoyed by the Templar because she doesn't do much. She might distract the Dragon Knight, she might distract your backline, but she doesn't do anything other than that. She is great standalone unit, but in the late game it's more about casting and spells that change the fight of the game. To summarize for round 27 plus, this is the difference maker if you come 5th, 4th, or even go further. The crucial 2 things are positioning, unit composition, and items. I know those are 3 things. So sometimes with positioning, you can have your 1-star tied in between 2 units, so he can only receive the frontal and the back damage. And I can touch this more on my positional guide, which I'll attach a link below. And for itemizing, you want mana regeneration items on the Medusa, on the Disruptor maybe, but Disruptor can stand in the front. You want mana regeneration items on things like the Lich, Gyrocopter, Techies, and the Death Prophet. What we want is we want the spells to be cast early than the enemy. Because there's so many trolls, there's so many mages, they tend to cast faster than us. So the positioning and itemization is key for us in the late game. Lastly, the unit composition we want is to counter the enemy. If the enemy have things like physical attack like trolls and knights, maybe goblins works well. Of course we can't go into goblins, but maybe we can consider going 6 warriors instead of 3 warriors because we know we want to be tanky. If the enemy has mages, if the enemy has things that's AoE damage potential, maybe the Nagas works well. The Tidehunter and Deucer can excel to counter the mages. Also, they can be a backup plan when the Deucer is sitting far in the back. She receives a bit of AoE damage and she stuns everyone as a backup plan. The unit position is so important that we see some of the warriors and some of the players tend to put all the units back to pull the other units in. This is great because not only do you change the formation of the other player, you also delay the engagement of combat. Sometimes when you delay the engagement of combat, you tend to survive for longer or you tend to lose later. Sometimes you just have to survive 2 more seconds and be the top 4, top 3 when the other player dies before you. So, to summarize, we have round 1 to 10 for the early game, round 11 to 16 for the mid game of saving and economy. We have 17 to 26 where the mid game brawl really happens and where some players really do fall down because of lack of transition into great mid game units. And lastly, we have the positioning and initiators for the late game. I hope you guys enjoyed this particular tier list. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you want to support us further, please remember to share the tier list, to subscribe, and to say hi on Twitch. Thank you so much guys for all the support, and I will see you guys next time.